Welcome to Love Capsule, the confessions you never hear anywhere else.
Today, a very special capsule with Kim, whom you discovered in Love, is Blind France.
We went through a pretty wild experience together, and today Kim is here to tell us what it's like to fall in love without seeing the other person.
And that's exactly today's topic. Is it possible to fall in love without ever seeing the other person?
Kim, thank you for being with us.
Oh, thank you both. It's so nice to see you again after all this time.
It's a change from the living room.
It's a change from the living room, but the setting is very pleasant. It still feels just as Frenchy.
It's a little less pink.
Yeah, it's a little less pink, but maybe that's better, maybe. This way, we're getting ourselves ready for another kind of love. It's
Long. Kim, can you remind us a bit about what we've seen from you in the missions? Give us a little recap of everything you've experienced during these weeks of broadcast.
During this week of broadcast, we've seen several sides of Kim. It was a bit eventful. But it's true that the first first 4 episodes, were particularly difficult for me because, like everyone else, we were each given a little label, and it was pretty tough to see myself like that on screen. In any case, the side of me they wanted to show, a bit of a superficial girl, a princess, very particular, who speaks her mind. Well, I own all those sides of myself. But it's true that I felt they focused a bit too much on that. It disappointed me a little because that's not all there is to Kim. That's not the whole Kim. It's really just one part. It's actually a very small part of my everyday life. So, yes, I do have my standards. Yes, I'm a bit of a princess. Yes, I'm a bit particular sometimes. But that's who I am. But the fact that they really zoomed in on that, showing me at the hotel, and then on top of that, there are things that were taken out of context. Just to reassure you, when I talk about staff, I'm not saying I have staff at home. I'm not from some great dynasty either. That's it. I come from a modest family. So no, it's just that there were people with us, like in any luxury hotel, a 5-star. When you enter a palace, actually, there are staff members with you who put your luggage in your room and show you around a bit inside. And it's true that when they showed us this set with the famous bottle of champagne and the gold glasses, there was someone in the room, except that person had left. Of course, so I just went back from the bedroom to the living room, and then I was like, oh, well, there's no more staff here. And you see, it's really just those 5 little seconds. Well, I still laugh about it now. People who take this really seriously, honestly, I think they just don't really get who I am. Or my personality, the
The criticisms are easy online.
Yes, criticism is very easy and it spread really quickly. The first 48 hours are really, really tough. I saw some very negative comments. It affected me a bit because there were people who didn't look beyond appearances. Actually, like in any show, you always show whatever you want. But in this case, it was a shortcut that was a bit too much, honestly.
We'll come back to those moments in a bit. Let's just take a little step back in time. Let's go back to the moment when you met Thomas in the capsules. Do you think you really fell in love with him at that moment?
Oh yes, in the capsules, I was in love.
I
I was more than in love, and I formed a very quick emotional connection with Thomas. I got my match by the second day, according to the timeline. So it's true that people didn't necessarily understand the emotional connection I had with Thomas, since the first episodes were very short and concise about our 2 characters. Compared to others, we had very little screen time, in my opinion, because they avoided focusing on just the 2 of us and preferred to highlight love triangles and other stories. Well, maybe that's their strategy for marketing or whatever, but it's true that I was surprised, and I can understand if I put myself in the viewer's shoes. People don't necessarily understand how I could have fallen in love with Thomas. A lot of people think it was only because of that question, the famous question about being a couple goal. No, that's not all there is to it. I'm not that one-dimensional in my life. People don't know
that we actually spent many hours and hours talking to each other constantly.
sometimes we had very deep connections, and that was the case with Thomas because I talked about a lot of things. We also talked about our differences in the video segments, and in the end, I still chose to lean towards him, even though people think I didn't know him, that I didn't ask the right questions, when in fact I did ask Thomas the right questions, at least in my opinion.
I saw you come back into the living room several times in tears. It was so emotional for me. I saw you come back many, many times in tears. What you experienced was very intense.
I was fully immersed in the experience. And it's true that when we're in those video segments, it's kind of our own little bubble for both of us. We're just waiting for one thing, to hear the other person's voice. Our senses develop differently than they do in real life. We pay attention to the little sounds of a smile. Sometimes we move closer. There are those who stay seated, motionless on a couch, those who move around, those who sit on the floor like I did, those who get closer to the wall to hear the other person better, even though we actually have microphones, so it doesn't make any difference. But it's instinctive. It's true that you want to get as close as possible to the person, to feel them with you. I was very moved by Thomas because Thomas is someone who is extremely sensitive. He was able to show me that side of himself, but also his strong side in the capsules. That's really what attracted me to him, this duality between the strong man and the sensitive man.
By the way, I had asked you what attracted you the most. Was it more his voice, the energy he managed to convey to you? What really attracted you in the capsule? Like you said, a lot of senses are put on alert.
It was his voice, his very calm and composed side. Because I'm a bit smaller than him, but he knew how to reassure me. He managed to show himself as that strong and protective man. As I asked him questions, he was able to let that show through. But, well, later on, with time, I learned that there were quite a few lies. Well, we brag, we boast, we say a bit whatever we want, and then it's also about figuring out what we have, depending on the questions we ask. But when you fall in love quickly, sometimes love makes us blind. Because you hear, even with all the gossip in everyday life, like at that time, I wouldn't have turned around for Thomas if I saw him in the street, for example.
Actually, I want to follow up on what you just said. Were you afraid of the moment when you would meet in person?
So I wasn't afraid of that moment, but I was just really impatient, actually. We had been in those pods for weeks, and I just wanted to get out and finally see him. And I had imagined him. So I know I'm one of those people who tend to idealize, who tend to imagine things, to make a bit of a fairy tale out of it. And that ended up being a problem because when the reveal happened, it's not that I was disappointed, but my expectations were just way too high, too big. And because of what he had told me in the pods, I was expecting Prince Charming, like he had kind of said himself. It's true that I felt a bit of a disconnect.
It's hard when you create an image in your head. Before the reveal, everyone asked me what you look like. I said, don't tell me, I don't want to know, otherwise I'll start picturing something. He's very handsome.
There
Still be disconnect, but it's not
just about physical beauty. It's the whole package, the man himself. It's the whole vibe. Does the voice always match the person you see in front of you? And for me, it's true that my reveal was unusual because tomorrow I'm going to be operated on. And at that moment, I thought, actually, the strong man I see in the videos, I didn't find him at the reveal. Even though it was the most important moment, it was the marriage proposal.
I
thought you too, you whispered. I
don't know, it throws me off. But
So it made me feel like I thought, damn, I don't have the man from the videos anymore. I was lost. I didn't know anymore. So me too, I was freaking out. I couldn't do it anymore. I didn't know where I was, where I lived.
And looking back, would you say that your feelings were amplified by the context of the experience?
Yes, absolutely. Now looking back and being self-critical, it's clear that being in a situation where you're locked in with no connection to the outside world, you really have to realize we don't have cell phones. We have very little contact. We only interact with people when we're filming, but the rest of the time we're alone. And you think, you overthink, and inevitably that amplifies the feelings you might have for someone. And for me, it's true that it's my somewhat intellectual legal side where I tended to constantly reread my notebook and study all my notes on each of the candidates late into the night so I could strengthen my choice for or against a person.
Would you say that Love is Blind, the experience we went through, changed your perspective on relationships?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Did I ask questions that I wouldn't necessarily ask in everyday life? My approach to love was completely different, actually. I did the opposite in the pods compared to what I do in everyday life. There are questions I ask in everyday life, very simple questions. And actually, when you see the person, well, you already start to form a bit of an image. You more or less know their lifestyle without even having to ask. Whereas in the pods, you dig and dig and dig, and you pay attention to things other than looks, other than facial expressions, other than their personality, other than, well, yes, the way they dress, etc. So it forced me to think differently.
And then there's also the imagination that comes into play, meaning that even if we have all these elements where we're told, I'm like this, like that, like this, like that, of course, we try not to, but our imagination
Starts. Oh, it's unconscious. Oh, for me, absolutely. I was just in that state a moment ago and I was really lost in my own fairy tale. I'm here because I want to find the man of my life. I want to get married. I want to start a family. And after that, I want to build a lot of things on my own, but also with that person. And it's true that I always systematically had a tendency to idealize a lot. I actually fantasize about the idea of the prince ending up with his princess. It's true.
I think we've all idealized.
Everything.
It was very intense, like everything was really, really intense in terms of feelings. And actually, you mentioned it earlier after the show aired, so the first episodes came out. And it's true that the first people who put a label on you, like you said, that's not at all the entirety of your personality. It's just a small aspect that was highlighted in the first episodes. So, how did you experience everything that happened around that?
It was difficult. Honestly, I won't hide it from you. I kind of withdrew from social media. I even uninstalled TikTok. I just reinstalled it yesterday. Yes, yesterday. Yesterday afternoon, I got back on it because I told myself that I still needed to face the criticism. It didn't necessarily hurt me, but it's true that it is still hurtful. It's absolutely true that he was quite harsh, that he judged things very, very quickly. For me, personally, that's not really how I typically do things. It's something I would much rather do at the very end. I genuinely like to see the entire whole picture and carefully watch all the episodes before making a judgment on a series, a television show, or a movie. It disappointed me a bit, yeah. I found that they were harsh. But again, I also put myself in their shoes, and based on what they saw, it's true that I was a bit tough in the clips. I asked very direct questions. But for me, in life, I need to know where I'm going. For me, that's very important. When you're over 30, well, you're not 20 anymore. You don't live under the same conditions as when you were 20. Today, I live in a particular neighborhood. I have a lifestyle that I own. So I also want to ask those questions to know first what kind of man you are. And I know that topics like money, work, ambition, well, they're still a bit taboo in France. And I think that's a shame because actually, that's what makes us who we are, really. We have to say it. Maybe we need to remind people of that. And actually, I didn't think I'd have to remind people. I thought people would understand me, that they'd understand my approach. And it's true that in this process of looking for love, I wanted to be in agreement. I wanted to be aligned with someone. I wanted, well, with the person in front of me, for them to earn at least as much as I do, or even more. And I didn't think it would turn into something shameful. It really affected me, you know.
You're looking for a husband and still you're looking for a date, you're sharing your life, that's normal, but
I carefully read all the criticism. I meticulously went through all the comments, and many people, quite a few actually, called me materialistic and also superficial. I honestly didn't truly think so myself. Besides, I actually dress just as much in well-known brand name clothes as I do in perfectly good non-brand clothes. So, yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah.
especially people who don't realize it. We have to get married. We have to find our partner in a very short time. We can only talk. We're forced to dig deeper. We're forced to look for things beyond just appearances. And it's an experience, a real social experiment. And then we still have to accept a marriage proposal from a man after just a few weeks. So it's completely normal that you wanted to dig deeper. We've lived through it, so we know exactly what you're talking about and what you're feeling. Actually, I'd like to go back to a scene in the series where we see Anais coming to tell you that Thomas is seeing another woman during the adventure. And even now, more information and other accusations have come out.
And also,
We'd like to ask you, do you want to talk about it again?
yes, absolutely, because I found out about it late. I first heard about it on the rooftop at the Brasserie d'Auteuil, and it's true that it really affected me a lot. You can see it. I was really upset. I cried about it. It made me question my whole experience. At that moment, my friend Anais came and told me something very important, something crucial, because we were supposed to go to a wedding. And when I asked Thomas about it, he was really evasive. He talked around it. He didn't want to discuss it. For him, it was just another stupid question because he thinks nothing is important, that our questions aren't important. Well, excuse me, but maybe he's still talking to that girl. And yes, I got confirmation that he was talking to her the whole time we were filming. I saw and read the messages, so actually I hadn't seen them after the rooftop because we had an argument with Thomas. He didn't even show me the messages. He said I was taking my friend's side. And actually I had every right to have doubts as a woman, that's for sure, but I hadn't seen the messages that night. We had a big fight, and he told me to get out of the apartment and, I quote, to go back to my shitty apartment next to the filming location. So faced with that kind of man, I left the room, took my phone, and told him I was going to let a few people in the building know, and I isolated myself in another room. The next day, I packed my things and left. Later, we kind of understand when I say that Thomas was with Roland, his spiritual father, and he says yes, that he wasn't in the apartment, that he wasn't there for a few days.
All right.
Even Stormy herself was crying, and he openly confided in Stormy, sharing his deepest feelings.
You just mentioned Roland, so I really want to take a moment to talk about your wonderful family. We also had the pleasure of seeing your dear mom, who truly seems like a very kind and genuinely warm woman. How exactly did your entire family experience this significant episode?
Very badly. After that, my mother had serious doubts about Thomas.
And
We saw a hot-tempered Thomas, a Thomas who made veiled threats to me. When someone tells me, because we were still filming at that time, and I wasn't in a good place, I was disappointed, I was really affected by the information, I had serious doubts, and honestly, I almost didn't want to talk to him anymore because I thought, this guy is possibly cheating on me. And then, at Quababe, when we left, I saw the message. He had a 10-month relationship with this girl, and I was there thinking about marrying this man. Can you imagine? At that point, I realized my whole experience had been completely distorted by this man. He lied to me several times, so of course it hurt me. And then I also learned that Divin was dumped by Thomas last December, and that Lena was also dumped by Thomas, so I think I've had enough. Between the initial blunder and everything else, I really got the worst of it. My experience was a total disaster.
I think, if I remember correctly, it wasn't actual dates, it was more of an approach by text message. But given the whole situation, I understand why they're a bit confused, but there you go.
Listen, thank you for your honesty about all this, Kim. Now we can get to the heart of today's podcast topic.
Absolutely, we'll let you catch your breath a bit because we're here asking questions, but you've been really open in answering us for half an hour. So, let's get to the topic. Is it possible to fall in love without ever seeing the other person?
So, Kim, for you, is it a complete myth to be able to fall in love blindly?
For me, of course, it's not a complete myth, since I truly fell deeply in love during that very intense capsule phase. It happened incredibly quickly. So actually, with the benefit of hindsight, I tell myself that perhaps it is indeed a myth, but since I personally experienced it, I absolutely cannot say it's a myth. It's very, very real. That's precisely what happened during that particular phase. It's an incredibly intense phase. We are completely immersed in those capsules. Our senses are entirely heightened. We pay close attention to even the slightest, most minute details. So, yes, for me, love was completely and utterly blind in the capsules.
Are we just telling ourselves a beautiful story that we want to believe in, but that always falls apart in real life?
Yes, absolutely. That's also a question, because the story I had made up in my head was my own fairy tale with my little prince, my life as a lady of the manor, just as I had always dreamed. Thomas had led me to believe in the video clips that yes, yes, don't worry, that life, well, that's my life too. We have pretty much the same lifestyle, that's it. But actually, as we can see, Thomas is someone very simple. And me too, to be clear, I'm also very simple. Here, the production wanted to highlight only my princess side, but I also do very simple things in life. I can eat at McDonald's too, it's not all wow. But because I think you thought I was all about luxury, no, 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 that's not it, because some people will keep thinking that, but no, no. But it's true that, well, we tend to idealize things for sure. And I wanted to believe in it. I came into this with a completely sincere approach, and I told myself, well, he's my prince, it's him. And since he was receptive to my story, I thought, actually, he wants to live this story and he wants to move towards, well, a couple's goal in the end.
So you've kind of answered the question, but for you, is it just a bit of a modern day fantasy to fall in love like that? With a voice, with an energy, with everything we've experienced in life?
Yes, because we pay attention to things we wouldn't in real life at all.
We interpret them as we want?
Exactly. The voice isn't everything. In those capsules, once again, we're isolated, we feel alone, we cling to the person, we want to believe in it, we want to tell ourselves, well, yes, it's going to be him, he's going to support me, he's going to be there for me, just like both of you are for each other today. And your story is really, really beautiful. I think there was a big miss because he should have chosen you, at least in my opinion. Anyway, I already told you, even though it wasn't shown, but in the girls' lounge, I told you you deserve it. And for me, you are one of the strongest couples. No, really, I'm telling you this from the bottom of my heart, and I think we all agree on that. Well, I can't speak for everyone, but you represent a strong, solid couple who listen to each other, and today you have great projects together, and I think that's truly admirable. Plus, you both have your own personalities, and you're not the same, which is what's beautiful. I thought I had found that with Thomas too, since we're very different, and sometimes differences attract. For some couples it works, and for others it doesn't work at all, like for me, because we were just too, too different on too many important things in life as a couple. Yeah.
Building on what you just said, do you think we fall for the person themselves or for what we project onto them?
That's kind of a philosophical question. It's a tough one, isn't it? It's hard. It's really hard. I don't have a clear-cut opinion on that. Because honestly, it can truly be both. So, no, I genuinely don't really have a particularly strong opinion on that matter. It can actually, in fact, be both.
Of
I don't have all the answers, you know.
That's perfect. Let me jump in. It's actually really great listening to you. You're sincere, genuine, and we're having a really good time. Thank you.
Not for me, please. I'm actually feeling quite pretty calm because
The difference is all that it doesn't.
I can't stop laughing. So is love something visual for you? Is it a bit like in novels or dating apps? It feeds the imagination, but it doesn't really last?
Yes, absolutely.
It's really hard, honestly, for me.
I know it's hard, but I can be a bit tough sometimes too. But yes, because on dating apps nowadays, unfortunately, and even on, I'm making a comparison that's not really related. We're talking about apps, but also about resumes. I'm sorry, but today in 2025, we have to stop saying that looks aren't important. Actually, they're super important. Why do people want to improve themselves? Why, even in medicine, are we constantly improving, finding new techniques, new technologies? It's because we have a need. It's human nature, in my opinion. We have a constant need for progress, and it's the same with appearance. It's the first thing we notice. In video capsules, we might just see a wall, but in real life, yes, we see physical appearance. And unfortunately, just like on dating apps, we quickly sort people out. It's tough, but it's reality, and it's the same in the professional world. There have been many studies, I've read a lot. There have been many scientific studies that prove that, yes, someone with a good resume, but also a nice photo, will be chosen. They'll be chosen. They'll be chosen. They'll be chosen. But
I agree with you, physical appearance. It's not like we're asking ourselves to be hypocrites about it.
oh yeah, people who really say that looks don't truly matter at all.
Even at this moment.
A fitness coach. Well, there you go. Like we say at the gym too, it's true. You're not going to pick a coach who isn't ripped, excuse my language. But for me, if I see Stan as a coach, I'm going to say, yeah, I'll pick him. If you pick a little guy who could also be nice, sure, everyone has their own taste. And so there are people who don't necessarily like really muscular guys. For example, it's not really my type either, but when I go work out, well, yes, I want a coach who's jacked, good looking. And when I'm sweating and doing 10,000 rounds of cardio and all that, I'm going to look at him and be like, yeah, okay. And I'll tell myself, for you, I'm going to push through.
So let's move on to the next exercise, you see.
Really? Is that really so?
Now we're going to move on to the debate part. The three of us are going to debate, or at least give our opinions,
On
the following topic. Do you think it's possible to truly love someone you've never had?
Well, yes, because I loved Thomas. I was totally in love with him. No, it's true. It's true. It's true. It's true. Yeah.
Personally, I don't think so. I think when you look at the reality of things today, I mean, like you, I was very attached. We did a lot of things together and we were really, really connected, but our love just kept growing. And I think that when we finally saw each other, when I smelled your scent, when all these things came together,
And
that made me, yes, fall in love. But I think that in my current life, for me, it's just not possible.
sorry, I didn't answer. Ah.
But still,
As for me, I was still figuring things out. It's true. You're right about that.
but I truly think for me personally, I was feeling very happy, indeed very happy, sorry, that you will look absolutely amazing tomorrow.
But yes, everything just clicked too. In terms of compatibility, I think as a couple, well, you're the only couple that
Lasted.
lasted, but you can't necessarily just say it like that, but you have to say it to put things into words. You're the only couple that lasted until today and who went on to pursue great projects together. And no, but it's true that in reality, well, actually, yeah, like the distance, like the bubbles, but yes, well, no, but yes, I agree with you, actually, yeah.
For me, it's the same. We're not really in love in the capsules, and so many times people have asked me this question, but are you in love? No, but I'd really like to see you. Well, I'm going to...
The experience would have been interesting with you two because you're one of the rare couples who weren't in love in the capsules, but in terms of progression, well, actually, you would have ended up getting married. It's
certain that
you would have gone through all the stages.
For me, being a couple was a bit like an HR questionnaire. Every day I had a little questionnaire and so on. Actually, I see it as project management. So I
freaked you out every time, it's true, so organized, you can really see the businesswoman.
Me, I'm a bit
freestyle.
From time to time. There's a man who checks all the boxes, and I told myself, love will come, because he's the person who matches
what
I'm looking for. And I think we said we fell for each other after 3 months.
Yes, really, yes.
It's
cute. It was a little anecdote. We spent a romantic weekend together, just the two of us. We went away, we were in Lyon, we took a little trip to Geneva in Switzerland, and she arrived by train, and actually she had a Mini. I had it, she had arrived. A little red Mini. No, actually I had bought the Mini. I'm a Mini, I had it stationary. I had waited for her on the train platform like that. And on the way back, actually, on the way to catch her train to go back to Paris, I said, well, kiss my darling, I love you. Damn, so that's how it is. He looks at me, and then she stops. Yeah, that's it. That's me. That's it. And then she looks at me. She goes, what? She was shocked. And then I go, she says, not to that you had the time. At that point, I get a bit flustered. Now I'm surprised. She goes, well, okay, fine.
She still let it slip. I'm a candy.
It was
harder with the candy.
I'm too
surprised.
And then just like that, I was completely and utterly gone. He
searched. And then he took it from me right away before a month had passed. I go,
crazy.
I'm here? He told me again.
He said it. It was in Dubai after. He really did.
Me, she takes it away from me.
I told myself that.
But he'll end up telling me again.
I tried to stop myself.
But since then, it's been okay.
Yeah, that's right. It's me.
I'm excited. It's party mastal.
Exactly. I love you, party mastal, if it's deserved.
If it's deserved, you're on time. You've got stickers and everything. Yeah, but it depends on a chart in the morning.
I was bringing up the second question of the debate. Does physical appearance always end up mattering, even if the connection is really strong?
Yes. Yes, I'm being honest. Yes. Oh, yes. It still comes into play at some point.
Yes. Yes. So, how is the question phrased? Does it always end up mattering? Matter, yes. But is it a personality trait that's going to matter? No, because I think when you have someone who almost becomes, who makes a person who is totally... I agree. I think you can still get past it.
Yes, and then there are also people who aren't necessarily good looking, who don't have obvious physical beauty, but who have a lot of charm.
And who give off the same things.
And who give off something when they talk to you, even their gestures, their way of behaving in society, etc. Yes, Karim, that's super important. And now as I get older, I'm more sensitive to that. Whereas when I was younger, it's true, I admit it. I admit it, when I was younger, for me, the guy had to be tall, we used to say blue-eyed, this and that. the prince, slick back hair and all that. Whereas now that's not the case. I focus on other things now. Yes, intelligence, whether he's smart or not, the way he speaks. Yes, like you said, charisma. Me, I love a powerful guy. And I'd rather have a guy who's less good looking but has something about him than a handsome guy who just stands next to me like a potted plant. No.
I totally agree on that point. And, what you brought out in the video was how you made me laugh so much. We didn't cry even once during the whole experience. That's just not possible. The only time I shed a tear was when I walked into the living room. He was the only guy who
Didn't have any traumas.
but he dealt with them. Yes, but it
Was still, I thought people would have sorted out their traumas before coming though. But yeah, I think you got one of the rare guys. For him it was his first time as a soldier. That's why. But you see, earlier we were talking about red flags and green flags, and when I didn't ask the question, it's true that normally a guy who tells you, for example, the kind of storytelling that some guys have had, I didn't really mention it much, but for me, Thomas, the storytelling is really heavy. He went through extremely traumatic things as a child, and even later when we had the twins in his unit, etc. And you see, normally in real life, you'd say, be careful, this guy has a lot of emotional baggage. Whoa, 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 I'm not a psychologist. But actually, in the context of the show, the program, you think, oh no, poor guy, you want to help him. And when I was younger, I kind of had this savior complex. I've stopped now, but before I had it a lot. And I was always inclined to rescue people a bit and always wanted really to help people. And it's true that in the clips, I told myself, well, no, actually, it's not a red flag. He's just a super sensitive guy. It's just adorable vulnerability. And I had made up this thing in my head. Yeah, there you go. Well, my experience is done. It's done. It's done.
maybe it's just not meant for me anymore. We really have such a short amount of time to connect with people.
People
Don't actually realize it. Viewers can't know what we've been through. We experienced everything at 1,000 miles an hour. Plus, we were cut off from the world. We were really in a situation that pushed us to our limits.
And then there's the pressure from the group, because you and I, we were the first ones to lock things down, so to speak, because we knew right away. But that just put more pressure on everyone else. There was also the pressure from everyone saying, I found someone, I found someone. So you felt that pressure too. You had, and us, we
had our own kind of pressure. I was telling you that too, because it's true, and we haven't really talked about this yet. But Anais and I, since we got our matches very quickly, we actually stirred up a bit of jealousy. Not necessarily jealousy, but there were women who were envious, which is also normal, I think, because as some viewers noticed too, since the producers included a line where I say, in my shiny jumpsuit, I actually say, honestly, if I want him, I'll get him. I'll get. But it was kind of taken out of context. It happened at the end for us. It was very quick. So actually, there wasn't any competition with Athena, and besides, I didn't feel like I was in competition with any other woman like you. I think of Anais as well. We knew where we were going. We had our questions well prepared. Anais had tried to limit herself to a PowerPoint. She had a set number of questions. That was her thing. And I thought, what's going on? He better be quick-witted, that one.
You better have some comebacks, that one.
But we had another kind of pressure on top of the program itself.
I have some with others, actually, with her job interview. We're in a meeting, just her and me, and we have a little time. We can play golf. And I start playing quietly. Just like that, by the way, we owe you. We were supposed to do a deal together, that's what we said. I start playing and all that, and after 20 or 30 minutes, she realized that I'm just playing golf and not taking any notes. And she asks the
Question there when they put the games on. I'm actually
really learning a lot, but it's working.
As women, we have a certain sensitivity. I think you see maybe sometimes men have been perceived, and I also think the producers have put too much emphasis on this, that men handle their emotions differently from us, but that doesn't mean they don't care. But when you say you were playing, it can be taken the wrong way. But actually, we shouldn't forget that we're in an experiment and that we're here to have fun. What a distraction. It was the only entertainment we had for days on end. Okay. Yes, yes.
very well. Last, just a little topic for today. No, not really at all, actually.
It's actually
The topic of the debate. Do you think this kind of experience could, in your opinion, ladies, replace dating apps?
it could be cool, honestly. It could be really cool, hard to set up, but personally, I'm totally in. The story ends well for us, but I think the experience itself is just so incredible to live through. It's amazing. There are plenty of other things that are less amazing, but this, the experience itself of finding ourselves in the capsules, we were incredibly lucky. It could replace dating apps. Maybe it would be less superficial.
Exactly. After all, what we experienced was a human experience. I think people can't necessarily understand or put themselves in our shoes, but only the contestants, only the participants. We can understand each other. Even when we share stories like we've done, only we can really understand because we've lived it. There are people who allow themselves to judge, and that's what I found unfortunate on a lot of social networks because it's just fractions of a second. Yes, these are moments that are sometimes taken out of context, but people have made some very harsh comments and others that are really hilarious. There are some criticisms that now just go over my head because they make me laugh. If people think I come from some kind of dynasty or I don't know what, that I went to the best private schools or whatever, they think I'm an assistant. I read things again this morning saying I'm an assistant on our land. You saw it, that's all. It makes me laugh because people make up a life for us, and only we can do private jobs among participants because we really know things, even the darkest stories that came out of it. And you, on your side?
Indeed, it would be an incredible experience to live out in the open.
Yes.
That
Funny.
would be crazy.
It's funny. But there are a lot of people who won't want to do it because there are many who criticize us, but there are also many who wouldn't even dare to do it themselves.
Not wrong. It's very hard to smile at people you don't know.
To talk in public, too, to also experience the confrontation that comes with really seeing the other person. People judge, there are some who just wouldn't accept it. And even living through what comes after, the post-show experience, still,
There
are people who won't necessarily want to put themselves out there like we were able to do. It's
clear. In terms of results, I don't know what it should actually do. We'd need to do a sample on the app. How many couples would stay together? After this experience, with a sample of however many, it could be really, really cool. Yeah.
Maybe. We'll launch a concept just a bit late. We're going to.
The
last ones are really quick answers. It's for the punchline mode. Ready? How do you know if what you're feeling is love or just an illusion?
I'm telling you.
Quick.
Oh yeah, no, that's a real topic too. That's philosophy right there.
Is there a sign that tells you maybe it was just an illusion?
Well, expressions don't lie. Yeah, there are people who acted for me. That's it.
Those are signs that the connection is real and not just a fantasy.
Are the signs? That's a tough question. It's tough.
I need to stop with the question.
Yeah, no, that's a tough question. That question is tough.
I know, because my way of showing love, for example, is touch. Yeah, I'm the opposite.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I'm not active at all. I'm very reserved. So that's what makes this question difficult for me. It's not
a big deal. Next question. What do you think are the advantages of blind love compared to a traditional meeting? If you look back.
But it's not
a big deal.
More laughter.
What exactly is it?
So I was maybe going to put myself on the apps. I was kind of forced into it.
No photos? We killed a head manager. Don't put our photos up anymore.
If you see me on Raya, I was once put on Raya. It was my girlfriends. They were desperate about me. I stayed on Raya, I think, for a month. What am I even doing on Earth? Oh, it's horrible. Oh no, this is not working at all. Oh yeah, no. I'm going to stay alone.
With this sleep.
With the interview we did introducing singles, I'm absolutely sure we're going to get hundreds of comments.
Put
your photos.
In the comments below, please put your wonderful photos. I am going to create something new right now.
An email address.
Exactly. What advice would you give to someone who wants to try meeting someone without focusing on looks?
There are actually several pieces of advice. You need to focus your attention mainly on the person's behavior. When you're on a date, it really matters, you can tell. If the guy is on his phone, if he keeps going back to his phone, there are lots of things like that. If, for example, he keeps running his hands through his hair, or he keeps looking away, or he's checking out all the girls in the room, there are lots of things like that. You have to pay attention to these little things. And also, you need to watch out for smooth talkers. Sometimes there are people who express themselves really well. Unfortunately, a lot of the time we fall into their traps because they're really good at it. They're very skilled with their facial and body expressions. You have to be careful. That's right.
Nonverbal language is really the thing that can quickly give you red flags. And lastly, my little team, in your opinion, Love is Blind is?
Love is Blind is for the restart. No, honestly, it's beautiful, but I don't forget. I had a beautiful story. But here it is, my story. It's this one, but it's true that I've had too many disappointments. And then having been betrayed, because for me, it's a betrayal. And seeing everything that's happening now on social media and seeing that every day, there's still something new. I feel like my experience was completely skewed because maybe I would have done things differently, actually. And I would have paid attention to other things. I would have paid attention to other people who, for me, were who deserved just as much to be brought into the spotlight, you know? Yeah.
Anyway, a big thank you, Kim, for accepting our invitation.
Thank you both.
We were really happy to have you here.
Me too.
And actually, to wrap up, today we saw that falling in love blindly is a fantasy, a fear, but maybe also a leap of desire. And do you think that falling in love blindly is something real? Share your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you in the next episode. See you soon!